Ryan Calhoun woke up early to prepare for church. Today she was nervous because she would be singing in the choir. She had asked to participate a million times and was always told to practice first. She turned 15 recently, and now the pastor finally thought she was ready. He called a couple of days ago and asked if she still wanted to become a choir member. Ryan was surprised and accepted the offer. Then she spent time trying to prepare. This morning she fidgeted at her desk and kept looking at her clock. She felt somewhat silly for feeling so excited to sing at the church. Most kids her age just wouldn't get it. They had other things to think about, like their looks, boys, and hanging out together. Ryan didn't have the luxury of mingling with other kids or loitering at different places in town. Her parents were too strict for that type of behavior, so Ryan took what little blessings she could get. Of course, she wanted to do what other kids did, but she didn't risk getting in trouble for simply asking. She picked her battles and reveled in small victories with her parents. There wasn't much to do in her area anyways, besides going to football games or to the diners. Church was the highlight of her week, and singing there was a blessing. The somnolent, tiny town of Mulberry, Tennessee, had its church located at the end of Main Street. Ryan lived in a 2-story house on Mulberry Lane with a view of the church from her bedroom window. Her street was quiet and in a very conventional area. The townspeople were the type that were repulsed by vulgarity, dishonesty, and non-traditional ways of living, and her family had been there for generations. Your family reputation was what determined your status in this town. All morning Ryan sat at her vanity and brushed her strawberry blonde locks for the 100th time. She also did her mouth exercises and cleared her throat. She looked at her complexion and wished that her mother, Annette, would allow her to add some color to her lips. However, she knew it was a waste of time to ask. She wasn't a child, wasn't it okay by now? A little lip gloss couldn't hurt anything. Ryan pulled out a tube from her drawer, then she slid the applicator across her top lip. The tip of her tongue cleaned the bubble-gum gloss from the corner of her mouth. She was glad she got it when her mother was busy shopping on their last trip to Fayetteville. A few minutes later, Ryan heard a knock and swiped her tongue on her lip to remove any evidence of the makeup. Shortly after, Annette came in with a muffin and a glass of milk. She gave her daughter a sweet smile. "Good morning, honey. I brought your breakfast up so you can hurry to get ready and eat." "Good morning, Mom. Thanks, I'm almost done." Ryan smiled as Annette set the tray on the vanity and stood beside her daughter. "Well, you got a good birthday wish, didn't you? You're finally going to sing and show everyone how well you've practiced. Are you excited?" Annette asked. "Yes, ma'am. I think I'm ready," Ryan said. "I'm proud of you. You really know how to get what you want. Keep working hard and they may let you sing lead one day," Annette said. "I really hope so," Ryan said. Then she took her breakfast and began eating as she got ready. "I'll let you finish getting dressed. I just wanted to bring you breakfast and make sure you aren't too nervous to perform." "I'm okay. I'm only singing a few songs today," Ryan said, before Annette left the room. Downstairs, her brother and sister were putting on their shoes and waiting for the rest of the family. Ryan's brother, Chris, was the oldest and kind of quiet. He studied science and read comic books in his room, most of the time. Their younger sister, Julie, was the loudest in the family. She liked to play pranks and get in trouble at school. The 3 kids were 3 years apart, but still got along well. Besides, they wouldn't dare fight in front of their father, Bruce, or their mother. Their parents wouldn't tolerate it since the kids were old enough to know better. As the group got ready, Ryan put on her cream-colored dress and matching shoes. She went to the bathroom to brush her teeth, then she went down to join the rest of them. Together they got into the family station wagon and headed down the street to the church. The family found a parking space near the door, and Ryan followed Annette as she carried a dish for the potluck that was held afterwards. Bruce unloaded a guitar for his part in the service. He was asked years ago to play songs after the sermon, and he continued to do it. The family filed in line to shake Pastor Dan's hand, then began making their way inside and out of the heat. The guests were happy that they could get some relief from the hot sun and join the community for the service. There was cheerful chatter and people embraced as they greeted each other. The Calhoun family was no different. They enjoyed seeing friendly faces in the crowd. "Good morning," Pastor Dan said with a smile as he patted each member on the back as they passed him. "Good morning," the group replied genuinely. Most of the townspeople were in attendance, and Ryan saw the Hartford family walking inside. Bill Hartford was entering with his wife Janice and their 3 sons, Luke, Michael, and Kevin. Luke turned to look at Ryan, and his honey-colored eyes made her feel tingly. Ryan blushed. then looked down as Annette moved the kids along and Bruce ambled slowly behind them. The family found their seat at the pew and waited for the pastor to come in and begin speaking. Several minutes later, after the pastor's introduction, Ryan and the rest of the choir stood on stage. Ryan looked up at the colorful stained glass window and the beautiful yellow glow that filled the room. She cleared her throat as the piano player began the song. Ryan started singing the old rugged cross along with the rest of the members. Her nerves were attacking her, but she held the notes and her composure. Moments later, she finished flawlessly, and she breathed a sigh of relief. The congregation clapped when the singers were through with their set, but Ryan had her eye on Luke. He looked at her and nodded as he clapped. Her heart melted as she saw his look of approval. She couldn't wait to thank him for his encouragement. Ryan listened while the pastor thanked the choir and continued the morning sermon. He read parts of Psalm 78 and Exodus 2, 1, 2, then he went on to discuss the responsibility elders have to pass on God's wonders to the next generation. Pastor Dan continued to explain the importance of faithful proclamation in today's world. He stated that he would diligently do his part in supporting the youth in his congregation. The gatherers agreed and nodded as he finished speaking. Then he called Bruce forward to sing a few songs for the crowd. After that, the people assembled in the church basement to eat. There was an exit that led to the large lawn in the backyard. Kids ran around after lunch and adults sat with pie and coffee. They talked about upcoming functions and school sports. Ryan and Luke sat on the steps with a group of kids their age. They talked about music and other teen topics. "Has anyone been able to listen to Lynyrd Skynyrd's new album they just released?" Luke asked. The kids laughed, as if that would happen. Their parents wouldn't dare let them listen to anything, except country or gospel. Ryan liked both, but she was curious about other genres. She managed to sneak off to the record store once, while walking home from school. Then she ended up coming home 15 minutes late and was grounded. She wasn't sure what she could get grounded from at the time, since she didn't do much besides read and study. Then, Ryan learned she wasn't going to be able to take guitar lessons from her father that week. That did sting a little. The funny thing was, he felt guilty about it and gave her extra time the following week. She felt like she was almost a pro at playing now. 2 months in, and she knew a small handful of songs to play. Her dream was to become a country singer, and she had to force herself to stay focused on other subjects daily. For some reason, today was different. She didn't need to try and remain engrossed in the moment. For 2 hours, Ryan listened to the group of teens, but mostly to Luke. She maintained eye contact with him as he spoke, and she absorbed all the feelings that their connection gave her. Then she wondered if he felt the same. She looked down and reflected on that thought. A short time later, and to Ryan's dismay, a girl named Kitty started talking about a church retreat in March and ruined her daydream. Although the topic did spark a new interest for Ryan, it was barely October, so she had plenty of time to ask her parents if she could go too. She heard Luke say that his parents were sending him and his brothers for sure. His parents mentioned something about needing some alone time. Ryan smirked. Now she had to go. She stayed quiet a while longer and listened to him speak. His voice was cracking as he came into puberty, but she didn't mind the fluctuating pitch. It sounded like music to her ears. She did wonder what it would sound like later, though. She also thought about other things that her parents wouldn't merely ground her for. They'd probably ship her off to boarding school. Playful thoughts teased her imagination, like how he kissed, how he smelled up close, and how his soft hair felt in her fingers. Ryan's thoughts were interrupted when Kitty began being loud, again, and talking about a pizza party that Friday. It was at the local diner, after the football game. Ryan could never go, so she tuned her out. She couldn't stand how Kitty could get on her nerves. The girl didn't have to do much to get to Ryan. Even being near her was enough sometimes. She got up, stretched her legs, and walked the perimeter of the property while humming a song. It was one that she couldn't get out of her head, a soft tune she had been writing, but she couldn't figure out the ending. Ryan wanted to fix a couple other things to make the song perfect. She couldn't wait to get home to work on it, but she wanted to hang out with Luke as long as she could. She sat next to him again and softly hummed. "What song is that?" Luke asked. "One I'm working on." "Oh, that's so cool. I didn't know you wrote music," he said. "I only have a few I'm playing with, but they're not finished." "I'm kind of stuck on the endings," Ryan said, as she drew circles in the dirt beneath her. "Oh, so you think you're a rock star or something?" Kitty joked. "Shut up," Ryan whispered and got up to walk away. "Wait, I want to hear more. Do you know how to sing your song with music?" Luke asked, as he sincerely questioned her. I'm learning the guitar with Dad, Ryan said, but she wasn't sure she wanted to talk about it anymore. Can you play it for me? I don't know. Don't be shy, I know you can sing, remember? Luke said as he tried to coax her. Okay, Ryan said, and gave in to his request. Ryan went to see if her dad was busy, or near his guitar. When she saw that Bruce was with the other men, she grabbed it and sat on the step. She began strumming her notes and quietly singing. She put a little more heart into it when she saw Luke nodding his head. Ryan sang about street kids finding out who they were inside and expressing it. She felt like she was just barely scratching the surface of finding herself. A few ladies came to the doorway and smiled. Annette saw Bruce get red in the face and excuse himself from the group of men he was with. He started to storm off in Ryan's direction, but Annette intercepted his path and held his arm. Not here, she whispered to him. Bruce halted and calmed down as Ryan finished the song. The pastor clapped when she was done. My word, Ryan, I didn't know you had so many talents. Why haven't you played for us before? Pastor Dan asked. Ryan shrugged and blushed, but it was only because she lacked the confidence to perform. I think you deserve a spot next to your father after our Sunday sermons. You are very good, Pastor Dan said, as he eased her mind regarding how well she played. Ryan smiled as she looked at her dad. His frustration melted away when their eyes met. Then he nodded. I'd love to be able to sing with my daughter. Thank you for offering, Pastor Dan, Bruce replied. Ryan giggled and hugged her father. Bruce never expected to be able to sing with his daughter on stage. He loved the idea and was proud of her. She was spunky and got into things, but she somehow got what she wanted in life. Bruce admired her courage and tenacity. After all, she was a good kid, and the trouble she got into was really harmless. So from that day forward, for several months, the two ended their Sunday morning church visits with a sweet song.